you reclaim your power. You remind him, and maybe even remind yourself, that you're not just an option on his shelf waiting to be picked when it's convenient. You are someone with standards, someone who's not going to sit around hoping he figures it out. You are someone who values your peace more than constant confusion. And when he senses that, it shakes him in the best way, because now he has to work to deserve your time again. See, when you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, over-texting, over-giving, you're not just creating distance, you're creating clarity. And in that clarity, a man either steps up or fades out. And both answers are useful. But here's the beautiful twist. In doing this, you're not even doing it for him. You're not stepping back as some strategic move to get him to want you more. You're stepping back because your energy is too precious to spend on someone who isn't clear. And that shift, when it comes from a place of self-respect, not manipulation, is what truly changes everything. When a man believes you have options, it reminds him that being in your life is a privilege, not a guarantee. It reminds him that your love, your attention, your affection, they're not just up for grabs, they're earned. And most importantly, it reminds you that you don't need someone to see your value in order for it to exist. Your value doesn't rise or fall based on who decides to show up. It was always there. Sometimes you just needed a moment of silence to see it more clearly. Let him wonder. When you ignore a man, especially after showing up with openness, kindness, and emotional availability, something shifts. Now, I'm not talking about ignoring him to manipulate or ghosting to gain power. I'm talking about those moments when you pull back because you realize you've been giving too much and receiving too little. When you stop engaging out of self-respect, not strategy. That's when a man starts to see a version of you he didn't fully recognize before. He sees strength, and not just surface level strength, the kind that comes from putting on a brave face or pretending not to care. I'm talking about real strength, the kind that's rooted in self-worth. When you stop texting first, stop initiating plans, stop making excuses for his inconsistencies, that's when he realizes she's stronger than I thought. You see, a lot of people, men included, get used to a certain rhythm in relationships. Maybe you were always the one to bridge the distance after a disagreement. Maybe you constantly made emotional space for him, even when he wasn't showing up for you. That becomes comfortable. And whether consciously or not, he starts to rely on that. He leans on the idea that you'll always be there, always be the one who keeps things going. And when that pattern breaks, when you don't send that check-in message, don't respond right away, don't fight to be seen, that silence speaks. In that silence, he has to sit with the weight of your absence, not just physically, but emotionally. He has to notice what it feels like when you stop holding space for the connection. And that's uncomfortable for him, because suddenly he's not just dealing with the loss of your attention, he's confronting the reality that you didn't need him the way he thought you did, that you have a spine, that you have boundaries, that your kindness wasn't weakness, it was a choice. Now, some men will misread that strength. They'll say, she's being cold, or she's playing games. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that what they're really feeling is the shift in power, not the power of control, but the power of self-respect. You're not trying to hurt him. You're just done betraying yourself to keep someone interested. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop giving from an empty place, when you step back, not with bitterness, but with dignity, that's often when a man actually begins to value what he had. Because up until then, he may have confused your efforts with desperation. He may have thought your consistency came from need, not choice. But now he sees it differently. Now he sees that being with you isn't a guarantee, it's a privilege. You walking away or pulling back or simply not fighting for attention anymore, that hits a man in a place ego can't protect. because ego wants to believe he's irreplaceable, that no matter how poorly he shows up, you'll still be there waiting. But when you walk away with grace, when you leave the door open without leaving yourself behind, he starts to ask deeper questions. Why didn't she chase? Why didn't she come back? Was I that easy to walk away from? And the answer isn't that he didn't matter, it's that you matter too. And you're not going to shrink just to be tolerated. You're not going to beg for crumbs when you know you're capable of a feast. That strength, that self-honoring energy, it forces a man to grow or go. And that's the point. You're not here to mother him into emotional maturity. You're not here to rescue someone who's not ready to meet you where you are. Your strength is the mirror that reflects where he truly stands. And sometimes that's the wake-up call. Now, does every man come running back? No. And that's okay. Because your silence isn't meant to provoke, it's meant to protect. It protects your energy, your peace, your dignity. And the right man, the one who's aligned with your value, he won't just admire your strength, he'll rise to meet it. You're not here to convince someone you're worth choosing. You're here to live in a way that reminds you every day you already are. You know, when a woman starts to pull away or goes silent, there's always this moment where a man starts to question everything. Not because he's suddenly enlightened, but because her energy has shifted. And that shift is powerful. It's not just silence, it's a boundary. It's the unspoken, this is not working for me. And that creates a ripple effect he can't ignore. When a man realizes you're no longer texting first, no longer reaching out, no longer bending to accommodate his inconsistency or lack of effort, it catches him off guard, especially if he's been used to you showing up regardless of how he shows up. That space you create, it's where he starts to realize something important. He underestimated your boundaries. See, most people operate under the assumption that if someone cares, they'll always stay, they'll always try, always be available, always forgive. So when you step back, even subtly, it disrupts that pattern. You're no longer following the emotional script he expected. And that alone is a wake-up call. This doesn't mean you're punishing him. It doesn't mean you're playing games. It means you're honoring your standard. And that's something so many people are afraid to do because they think it will scare someone off. And yes, sometimes it will. But the only people it scares off are the ones who were never willing to meet you there to begin with. What really happens in his mind is this: he starts to notice the void, the effort he didn't make, the plans he didn't follow through on. The moments you gave your presence without him truly showing up, and suddenly the absence of your effort becomes deafening. That's the irony. While you were trying, while you were giving, while you were constantly showing up emotionally, he may not have fully appreciated it. But the moment you stop, he starts to feel everything he took for granted. There's this internal negotiation he goes through. Did I go too far? Did I misread her tolerance? Is she done with me? And this is where your silence isn't just a pause, it becomes a statement. It says, I don't fight for someone who doesn't value me. Not loudly, not with drama, but with clarity. That's what boundaries look like. They're not loud, they're not angry, they're clean, they're calm, they're powerful. When a man underestimates your boundaries, it's usually because they were never clearly demonstrated. Maybe you tolerated the flakiness. Maybe you forgave the mixed signals. Maybe you waited longer than you should have. And he got comfortable. He started believing that no matter how little he gave, you'd still be there. But the moment you go quiet, it creates a contrast that he wasn't ready for. It reminds him this woman is not here to prove her worth. She knows it. And that changes everything, because now the ball is in his court. But not in the usual sense. It's not, will he text back, or will he finally give me what I want? It becomes, is he capable of recognizing value and treating it accordingly? Because that's the true test. Not whether he misses you in your silence, but whether he respects your boundary and steps up, not just to regain your attention, but to meet your standard consistently. That's the difference between someone who wants you back and someone who's ready to deserve you. And let's be honest, not all of them will step up. Some will see your silence as a challenge to win. Some will text out of boredom or ego. But the ones who matter, the ones worth your time, they'll see your distance as a reflection of your worth. And it'll force them to ask the deeper question, why did she feel the need to walk away? That's when growth happens, for them and for you. Because this isn't just about what he thinks. It's about what you believe about yourself. When you stop explaining your worth and start enforcing it with action, not in anger, not in revenge, but in quiet, unwavering strength, you start attracting people who don't need constant reminders of how to treat you. You stop convincing, you stop chasing, and instead you become the standard they either rise to meet or fall away from. And the ones who underestimated your boundaries, they learn the hard way. Once a woman learns to walk with self-respect, she doesn't come back for breadcrumbs. That's the moment he realizes you're not ignoring him to punish him. You're protecting your peace. When you pull back, when you stop reaching out, stop initiating, stop overgiving, something powerful happens. It creates space. And in that space, a man is confronted with a question he can't avoid. Do I want to step up, or am I okay letting her go? Now, here's what most people miss. Silence is not a punishment, is not manipulation, it's clarity. It's the loudest way to say, I'm not chasing something that isn't meeting me halfway. When you stop trying to convince someone to choose you, you hand them the pen. You say, you write the next chapter, but I'm not waiting forever. And in that moment, a man starts to feel the absence of your energy, your support, your effort, your emotional investment. And trust me, he notices. The good morning texts aren't there anymore. The thoughtful check-ins, the laughs, the subtle encouragement, it's gone. And it doesn't matter how independent he is or how busy he claims to be. When your presence disappears, it leaves a gap. Now that gap, that silence, does one of two things. It either makes him realize what he had and how much he wants it back, or it shows on him that he was never really invested in the first place. Either way, your silence is a mirror. It reflects his true level of interest, not just what he says when things are easy, but what he does when he might actually lose you. That's where everything changes. You see, we're conditioned, especially women, to believe that love is proven through constant nurturing. That if you care, you keep trying, you fix, you overcommunicate, you give more chances. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go of the rope and see if he reaches for it. Because real interest shows up when things get quiet, when the dynamic shifts, when he's no longer being chased. That's when the question gets asked inside his head. Am I willing to show up in the way she deserves? Or am I just enjoying the attention without offering anything real in return? And that's the test. Some men will realize in that silence, I've been passive. I've been coasting. I don't want to lose her. And they'll step up. They'll take action, not just words, not just I miss you, but actual effort. They'll show you, not just tell you, that they're willing to match your energy. Others won't. They'll fade out. They'll retreat into the background. And that, by the way, is a gift because it saves you from wasting another minute investing in someone who was never going to invest in you. But that choice has to be his. You can't force it. You can't drag someone to value you. And you shouldn't have to. Love, real love, need to be begged for. It's offered willingly from a place of recognition. I see your value and I want to meet you there. That's why this moment, this quiet moment when you've stepped back, is so revealing. because it's no longer about words. It's not about how charming he can be, how much potential he has, how good the chemistry was in the beginning. It's about action. It's about what he does when he feels he might lose you. That's the only thing that tells you the truth. And I get it. Stepping back is hard. It's uncomfortable. There's a voice in your head saying, what if he forgets me? What if he moves on? What if I never hear from him again? But here's the truth. If your silence causes him to disappear, he was never truly there in the first place. That's why you have to stop tying your worth to someone's ability to stay. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is allow someone the space to choose and be at peace with whichever answer comes. Because you're not here to chase love. You're not here to audition for it. You're here to attract the love that is brave enough, present enough, and mature enough to recognize you when they see you. So when a man feels your absence and he's sitting with that question, do I want to step up or let her go? Understand this. His answer will reveal everything. And your silence, that was the catalyst that brought the truth to the surface. Let that be enough.